everyone. Welcome to the micro class. I'm Guo Xiaoming from Guangdong Construction Polytechnic. Today, we will learn about the application of the composition of straight lines in architectural spatial design. Now, let's study together. Okay, we're learning the three-dimensional composition of lines. Let's first look at the straight line in the plane. As we all know, straight lines in two-dimensional composition are parallel or intersecting. Parallel lines can create a unified aesthetic through variation in thickness and length. Next, let's look at the following two examples, both in the form of a plane. They present a systematic sense of the layout through the parallel lines. The next group of pictures we see is also designed with parallel lines for advertising. Now we see a very well-structured poster. And on the right side, there is a poster similar to Mondrian's composition. Next, let's look at the line in the three-dimensional composition. What is the difference between it and that in the two-dimensional composition? Let's look at the left side. It clearly looks like a solid, right? But then, let's look at the image on the right. The lines designed in it. We can see this composition is composed of lines. So actually, the solids in the three-dimensional composition are also the lines we say. Lines in 3D composition are material entities that determine the characteristics of length. Based on material, they are classified into hard ones and soft ones. Based on form, they are classified into straight lines and curves. Next, let's look at the types of straight lines in 3D composition. The first type is vertical lines. Vertical lines give us a sense of vitality, dignity, and eternity, as well as a sense of rising and falling. We can see from some examples. On the left side, through the vertical in solid, we feel the power of life and a rather solemn feeling. And on the right side, as we can see here, vertical lines in different directions give us a very stable and solemn feeling. The second type is horizontal lines. So what kind of feeling do horizontal lines give us? Generally, through horizontal lines, we feel calm, stable, and uplifting. As you can see, the texture of the left and right sides of the image, we can find some horizontal and parallel lines on them. Such works make us uplifting, calm, and at ease. The third type in 3D composition is the oblique line. It represents active movement and masculinity. We can feel it through the following works. The work on the left is an outdoor sculpture, giving us a very active feeling. On the right, it is a homework of 3D composition. In the work, we can feel a sense of stability generated by the pyramid, while a sense of movement provided by the oblique lines. Next, let's look at the composition of soft materials of lines. Soft lines give a feeling of tenderness but also firmness, reflecting the elasticity and toughness of straight lines. So how do we apply soft lines? One method is to cut them out of cardboard as cardboard lines. The second method is to use some fiber materials such as linen, cotton, silk, and synthetic fibers. Next, we will talk about the hard material of lines. Hard lines give us the feeling that they have strength and good support. Its composition can be formed without relying on supports but by arranging and combining lines fixed with bonding materials. The composition of hard lines has a strong sense of space, rhythm, and dynamics. Materials that can be chosen include metal, wooden strips, plastic straws, glass columns, and other metal materials. Through the following four pictures, we can feel that the composition of straight lines is very hard and upright, and has a sense of rhythm. Next, let's appreciate a group of works composed of straight lines in 3D composition. Here, you can see some 3D elements formed by straight lines. Looking at them, we feel the sense of rhythm. The next two are also photos of sculptures. On the right, it's a landscape in a fountain pool. This work is very interesting and full of vitality, making the landscape eye-catching. This group shows urban landscapes in buildings. The composition of straight lines breaks the original rigid feeling and has a better visual effect. The application of straight lines in architectural space needs to be learned through case studies. With case studies, we need to think about the following points. First of all, straight lines are the most powerful form language in architectural composition. Second, the use of parallel and vertical relationships of straight lines. Third, the density, thickness, contrast, and rhythm of straight lines. Fourth, the repetition of lines. Next, we will learn the application of straight lines in architectural space with cases. So our first case is the Maceo Apartments. Maceo Apartments feature a repetitive composition. As we all know, it's a very famous building established in the downtown area of Maceo, France in 1952 and was the first super apartment building attracting worldwide attention designed by Le Corbusier. The Maceo apartment building is like a convenient small town. Let's look at the picture on the right, which is the Maceo apartment building. Now let's see the straight line composition of it. We can see that the entire wall of the building is composed in a repetitive form of lines. In it, we can see some gradients and some vertical compositions, mainly adopting the form of repetition. Repetition can demonstrate a rhythmic beauty. Next, let's examine more details of the composition. From the first picture on the left, we can see it is composed in a vertical form of repetition. We can see that different lines have different colors inside. Through the 3D composition of lines and the color composition, it shows its unique characteristics. Then, for our second case, we have the Farnsworth House, which is a masterpiece designed by architect Louis Mies van der Rohe. In this work, what everyone needs to appreciate is the contrast of lines. As we can see, this white house against the blue sky replaces partitions with large glass panels. Inside, withdrawing the curtain, you can directly see the exterior landscape, which makes it very transparent and creative architectural design, truly living up to its name as a room with a view. Now, let's look at its contrast in lines. In this house, the lines embody a vertical relationship with variations in thickness within that verticality. And within those variations, there's also a contrast of solid and void. Now, the image we are looking at is the evening view of the Farnsworth House. You can see the lights are emanating from this pure white structure, which further strengthens the composition of straight lines that we see. In this scene, straight lines have become very few, but by no means the dispensable elements. They not only provide a sense of stability, but also show us how simplicity in life can be interpreted with such simple lines in architecture, showcasing the brilliance of the designer. Now, let's explore the different landscapes of the Farnsworth House throughout the 4 seasons. During this exploration, it's important to appreciate the different forms created by lines on different surfaces. Now we move on to our third design case. The Oriental Crown, China's pavilion at the Shanghai World Expo. In this case, the main focus is on the vertical composition of lines. We can know the Oriental Crown is based on the concept of splendid China, ample barn, and rich people. Its rich and diverse Chinese elements bring a strong visual impact to the China Pavilion. Through this case, we can clearly see how the Oriental Crown utilized vertical lines in its top, sides, and supporting base. Next, let's take a bird's eye view of the Oriental Crown to observe how lines are utilized. Here, it's evident that Multiple vertical composition techniques are used, including gradient variations in verticality, which encapsulate the solemn and stable feel of the Oriental crown. This image shows a side view of the Oriental crown. From this angle, we not only sense its solemnity, but also its layering, and the sturdy base below adds to its stability. Now let's look at it from this angle, which showcases some lively elements of the Oriental crown. We can see that through the interplay of straight lines, it also portrays lively elements. Next, we have a panoramic view of the Oriental crown. Amidst the large greenery, it stands out like a red flower in the ocean of bloom, creating a striking contrast with its surroundings and winning applause from the world, with its straight yet versatile lines. Now let's focus on how the Oriental crown utilizes vertical composition, particularly in the application of a dougong. On the left side is a dougong in traditional Chinese architecture, while on the right is the top of the Oriental crown. You can see that it completely modernized the traditional dougong, from which we can find that the top incorporates many fashionable design elements and multiple compositions. Lastly, we look at the landscape below the Oriental crown, where we see it's a sealed script wall. The 24 solar terms are written on it, depicting the feeling the Oriental crown gives us. Alright, that concludes our lesson for today. You should continue to study more design cases to strengthen your understanding of straight line composition. Okay, see you in the next class.